What's up, YouTube? We're just getting back from the Sand Sports Super Show. Excursion ripped us out flawlessly. Ice cream truck's back, chase truck, G-Wagon. I know we're all waiting to see some progress on the ice cream truck. It's a bunch of paperwork. We're kind of stuck in the doldrums on that, between it just taking time and me being me and bucking admin responsibility. But otherwise in the shop, it's looking good. Check this out, what? Generous benefactor gave us this TV, which now blocks the hole, swings out into the other room when we want it. I promise you we're not being stingy. There's the frame for the ice cream truck, same as it was. Sitting on this trailer where it's probably gonna live, not in the shop though. And our attitude has just been poor. So the sand show was definitely just nailed the spot in terms of morale. I brought my camera, which I haven't done in a long time, and I just want to point some things out in the show to bring it back to this, right? Where are we on this? Where is this project going to go? How nice should it be? Those types of things. So let's check out some footage of the sand show, and then we'll talk about what's been going on in here, including me just jamming a razor blade back into my hand again. Piss poor attitude, not taking it slow enough. Anyway, check out the footage of the sand show and we'll talk about some things and then we'll come back to all this. If you've never been to the Sand Sports Super Show, you owe it to yourself to show up if you could get there. It all starts with these OG sand rails going out to Glamis. This is where it all began, right here. This is so cool from a nostalgic perspective. This is how it was. The only thing separating you from the sand is a tube and a seat cushion. If you don't need it on this car, it's not there. And this is how it was back then. So contrast that with something like this. What's acceptable today from a fit and finish perspective? Safety, performance. The bar has gone so high, it's unbelievable, and it's really cool to see all this kit stuff coming down the pipe at the shows. Pretty sure you can buy this in a box or order one of these, I really don't know. But anyway, you could tell that it's not just a one-off thing. In the interior and the electronics, I mean, this is a car that you could actually drive and go get ice cream in. Definitely not going to go do that with the sand rail before this. For us, a big piece of going to these shows is to not only look at what products are available, but also how people interact with them. Because ultimately, they're the ones buying it. Here's an interesting company, Axia Alloys. They sell all kinds of bracketry, mostly for clamping to tubes, but all kinds of stuff in every application you can think of. Really high quality machining on some of this stuff, but man is it expensive. But let me show you why it's so important to go to these shows and see everything that they have that's available. This is a foot plate that we knocked out really quick. To me, making the metal is easy. Forming the metal, welding the metal, that's what we do. But attaching it to the car in a way that's clean, sleek, powder coated, with a friction fit, that's where it gets hard. And you can go right down to SDHQ, look at a whole wall of this stuff, pick it up, feel it, and within a couple hours, here's the finished solution. And I think we nailed it. So how do you know how much time you should put into something? Here's an interesting question. So also at this show, you can see under the hood of every single car, because you could walk up to it. It's not a picture on Instagram. You can touch it, feel it. Here is a production cage from Speed UTV. I think it's worth mentioning because this is boasted to be one of the highest quality production welded vehicles. And I agree, looking at it. You look at the welds of a Can-Am, atrocious. Everybody's seen the posts of a Ferrari without the panels on it, and some of the welds look like they were done by a kid. It's unbelievable. It's unreal that some of this stuff hits the market. So I agree. This is one of the best production vehicles I've ever seen. But even still, there's areas on it that are kind of questionable. I'm sure it's safe. I'm sure it's not going to break in half on you. And even when you race a top-notch UTV, they all have frame cracking problems, and the aftermarket has stepped up and made solutions, gussets, how to do it, whatever, all that stuff. So if I could put out something better than a robotic assembly line, then I think I'd be happy. So then the next question is, from a functional standpoint, I don't have production numbers, so how do I benchmark the quality of what I build and how much time I spend on something and therefore charge my customers with something that gets used and abused in the desert? So this is Nick and Chris Isenhouer's truck, their F100. Not only am I looking at how things are laid out, again, here's brakes, brake bias, where are your adjusters, all this stuff. But this is an interesting case to look at because this truck gets used and that's what it was built for. But coming back to how much time you spend on it, what's more likely, that we crack a weld from abusing it, or from us destroying something like this truck? So is it going to break from using it, or are we going to destroy it by running it into a wall or flipping it over? And if you think I'm kidding, let's cut to their footage of what happened to this truck prior to it being at this show.
Finished second, and then unfortunately we got sent out on a fifth lap we should have just done 4, and then we had a racing incident where another competitor, a slower competitor, gave me the line and then turned left unfortunately in front of me, and at the end of the day it's just a racing accident. So it's a bummer. It's a lot of work to put another cab on this truck. Luckily we have another cab at the house. Metal's rebuildable. So, race another day.
I don't know how you come back from something like that, but as you can see, that truck's at the show and it's not smashed. Go follow their channel. There's a bunch of content on YouTube. They ended up cutting most of the truck off, the whole top of the cab, the entire back half. They cleaned it up. I don't think it's a race truck anymore. I think they focused on the one we're looking at now. But man, is that disheartening. So keep in mind, your kids don't want your hot rod, and even if they did, it's yours to enjoy. Just remember, if it's too nice, you're not even going to use it. It's pretty cool to see these trucks side by side because they race together, they build these together. So when you see something that's the same, it obviously works. As with anything, the more you know about something, the more that you're going to get out of it. I really respect your time and appreciate you sticking around. Let's blow through some of these a little bit faster. Here we're looking at Shreddy's latest build. This is a Bronco. Very nostalgic, sort of retro design. Typical parts from him. Texas speed motor. The axles are out of a modern F250. Again, notice the 1-ton steering setup. Pretty standard. Of course, you got to talk about the builds that are specifically for the show. This thing will probably never go off-road. It probably doesn't even work, but it's still cool. It looks good. You could tell because the shock towers are made out of tin foil, and up on the roof, I'm pretty sure that's a Volkswagen Beetle hood, which I think is pretty cool. I like seeing stuff like that. How do you use what you have to make something awesome? Here's an example of somebody's build. You could tell that somebody built this in their backyard over probably 20 years. If it didn't work, it got cut out, it got redone. Look at the wear and tear on this thing. If you want to see something that gets used, here it is. And it wouldn't be a super show without having the Lamborghini of off-road. Things like this are everywhere. This, unfortunately, is probably never going to get used. It's going to live in somebody's epoxy floored garage, where they'll obsess over keeping all that chrome bright. But to each their own, and there it is. Another thing we talk about on this channel quite a lot is just because you have the truck, that's not the whole deal. You have to get it to somewhere. You have to work on it. It's very cool seeing reality celebrated this year at the show. I've got one for you. How do you know a race team's any good? They've got more dents in their front bumper than they do in their back bumper, because in desert racing, you're allowed to nerf them to let them know you're behind them and for them to get out of your way. So coming back to this thing, check out this trailer. Not your typical car hauler. No stickers, debadged, perfect how I like it, custom fit box, tight. But this shit doesn't just happen, right? It's me putting all the work to make it look nice. Part of that is shaving off all their vinyl stickers and all the reflective tape and all that. We'll put it back on, but the manufacturer put their logo in the tape. That drives me nuts. I probably would have left it on if it didn't have that on there. Unless you're paying me to run your logo, it's coming off, all right? That's across the board. There's no logos on my shirt, none of that stuff. But anyway, on this end here, you can see all my stuff over by the toolbox, and it's sort of pinched in because the shop's real narrow. I'm hanging over the edge, just scraping, and the razor blade's getting dull at this point, and the glue's real gummy, and then all of a sudden just right into my right into my hand. Again, gloves, peel it all off, blood everywhere. So the front room here is getting dubbed the hospital. It's the only room left with these obnoxious bright fluorescent lights directly over the floor, and it's the only floor in here that's really clean. And all the first aid stuff still just sitting there in my bags, ready to rip. I'm laying on the floor, peeling all this stuff off with my good hand and, you know, ripping tape with my teeth in one hand and gluing that cunt back together. But that's why, to me, that's why the shows are so important, like not to lose sight of where we're going. It's so frustrating doing stuff for customers that don't generally appreciate it, or they don't want to pay, or, you know, it's just their timeline's tight, whatever. Like, it takes a toll on me. While we're talking, all the crap's back here to, there was a customer truck that came in, and so we needed all the space we could possibly get, and our sort of spark shields up. Otherwise things are generally a mess, but this is getting out of control. We got to deal with all this. But between all of that and then the internet stuff, like we're talking, going to build that page out for sort of the paywall thing to kind of get the content up and better. Coming into the office here, there's the back of the TV with the swing out, and the poker table's still there, dude. We desperately need a party going on. A little science experiment with the plants. It's my mom's gig. Love her. And let's get to editing. You jump down on this couch. I'm beat. There's still 3 more shows in the next 2 weeks to go to. Trail Hero, I'm barely gonna make the end of it, but it's 12-hour drive. But it's all for everybody, all for the show, all for you guys. So please like, share, subscribe. Let's blow this thing up. I know it will in time. We're just gonna keep making them. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. Get involved, reach out, go to the site. Thank you. See you on the next one.